Maseches Bava Metzia, Daf Kuf Zayin Amud Beis. Welcome everybody to our Amud Yomi Shiur. Today's Amud is Kuf Zayin Amud Beis and Maseches Bava Metzia. We start right from the top of the page. We actually have it right today. The top of the page and top of the morning to everybody here in Avos Shalom. Welcome to people on YouTube channel, Torah Anytime, and Kol HaLashon. I'm Akiva Teichtal, and let's just start learning. We're starting late today. Loi Kasha, the Gemara starts with answering a question. What was the question? We asked the question yesterday. There was a contradiction, a steer between Rav and Rav. Rav, on one hand, was saying that it's good for a person to have his nechosim. No, I'll start the other way. Rav said that it's also for people to stare and gaze and look at other people's fields. When the field is at its, top, at its climax, you see all the beautiful golden wheat. It can create what's called ein hara. And yes, in Yiddishkeit we know ein hara is a very serious business. Yeah, don't look at it; it can damage it. Yeah, with your eyes, they say in the Mefarshim, it's if you burn it spiritually. Yeah, you burn it with your eyes. What happens later? We see the Rav says otherwise. Rav says that it's very good for a person to have his field right next to the town where he lives. Well, if your field is right next to town, then obviously everyone's going to have a look, everyone's going to stare, and perhaps there's ein hara, they're going to damage your field. So what's going on? Answers the Gemara a super easy and solution. Lo kasha, it's not difficult. Ha de mehader l'shura veritka. Ha de lo mehader l'shura veritka. Which means, very simple. It's better to have your field next door to town because it's very easy. Who doesn't want to have his workplace close to home? Who wants to start schlepping by buses? But on the other hand, you want to keep it concealed so people don't look. Very simple. Just build a fence around it. Shura, veritka are two levels of. I'm not sure we need both. Maybe extra safety. Shura is a wall around it. Ritka is like the chayil, that is like an exterior wall. Yeah, I think less from the tzorim, from shoots, yeah, from reeds. It's the second layer. So you have two. The Rif actually, I saw the Rif says either or, either one type of fence or the other type. Very good. So had the mehader lay. If you surround it all around with walls, then good. It's close to town, close to home, 2 minutes away from home. Great. And nobody's looking because it's all fenced up. But if you don't have the shur varitka, if it's not surrounded by any wall, it's absolutely exposed, then first of all, people shouldn't look at you, but they would. So be smart and get your field. If it's too expensive for you, or I don't know, you can't build a wall, then bevakasha, it would be much smarter to actually buy a field, yeah, or whatever, out of town, further away into the field and not so close to town, so people don't look for the wrong reasons. Interesting, I saw a video from Vayamayim, these videos about Shmir Sanaim, and they said Shmir Sanaim is not just about looking at women, it's also ein hara. Yeah, people who look too much, you stare, you look like Yachna Yenta, it's not a good thing. Not everything has to be, subject to your looks, keep your eyes to yourself, to good things, for Torah, mitzvahs, that's what it should be. Elul. Continues the Gemara. V'heisir Hashem imcha kol choili. The Torah promises us that if we keep the words of Hashem, Hashem will remove from us kol choili. Kol choili, if I had to translate the Torah into English, I would say any disease. However, the Amoraim, and I'm using Rashi now, they learned it differently. Kol means like the entire disease or the entire health system, meaning there's one cause, according to the Amoraim. We're going to see 5 opinions now. Yeah, there are 5 potential causes to all different ailments and all diseases and all sicknesses. Yeah, that's kol choili. The choili at its entity. Yeah, it's its entirety. Yeah, what is that? Oh, big machlokas. What is the one thing that causes many different ailments, and why do people have to go to the doctor and have the EKG? Rav says Rav is the first one. So the cause for all diseases is ein hara. Ein hara, people look at the other one, they're jealous, they're not fargenen, they're not happy, they're looking too much. Yeah, and you foolishly, you draw too much attention, it's not good, and that causes machla. The other people's looks, that it's unhealthy, creates negative energy, and that creates all kinds of diseases. That's what Rav holds. Yeah, Rav l'taime. Rav, by saying that, Rav follows his own reasoning. Yeah, Rav himself, yeah, is in line with a different statement that he made, even stronger. The Rav, one time, Rav Salik Lebei Kavri, Rav went to the cemetery to visit Kivrei Tzadikim. He went to the cemetery. Ovad Mai de Ovad. He did what he did. What do you mean he did what he did? There's a few explanations. Rav had his supernatural powers. Rav was Rav, yeah, Rav, yeah, the first Amoira. So Rav basically he could whisper over the graves, and he knew why each person died. He could tell why this guy died and why that girl died. He could tell each one why they died. Or another explanation by the I saw in the Ein Yaakov, he says he would plant saplings, trees by each grave, and the ones that lived, the one that actually managed to flourish, to grow, they were of people of one type of death. We're going to see soon. And the other ones who did not grow, that if the sapling did not grow over the dead man's grave, that means there was a different cause. What is that cause? Omar, Rav, after doing his research, either by whispering, no, in Ruach HaKodesh, trees, whatever it was, Tishin, he came to the conclusion, he ran a survey. Yeah, he ran a survey. What is the cause of death? Like they do today. What's the cause of mortality in the Western world? I don't know, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, whatever that is. Yeah, suicide. Yeah, Rav is giving us now the mortality rate, the reason for mortality. Why do people die? And he said, in this cemetery, I know that Tishin v'Tisha be'ain ro, 99 out of 100, they died because of Ein Hara. Because of the evil eye, they died. The echod b'derech eretz. Only 1 out of 100, only 1% dies. Derech eretz here means the normal way of the land. According to many Rishonim, it means that, of course, there are many causes for death. But early death, they would have lived longer. You see this and that and the other. Those that the tree did not grow, those that the sapling wilted, it's because they also died early, maybe died with the age of 92. He would have lived more, he would have lived longer if not for Ein Hara that affected him midlife or earlier than expected. Only 1 out of 100 actually managed to get to the end of his life, as his life expectancy as written and decided by Kodesh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah. So now, Frag the Chazon Ish, what are you talking about? What do you mean Ein Hara? Of course, people are going to ask, what do you mean? This guy has heart disease, the other one has car accident, the other one old age. How can you say it's all Ein Hara, right? How can you say such a thing? Answers the Chazon Ish, no. Of course, people have a gzera on them from Shamayim, that they're going to die because of Averos. The Rambam says the person who's really a Rosha dies straight away. The reason when Roshaim don't die straight away, says the Rambam, Milchas Tshuva, because they have big zchusim that you don't even know about. Yeah, only Hashem knows. That horrible guy, why does he live such nice life of Riley till an old age? Because he has some kind of zchus he's not aware of. Yes, Hashem has his reason to keep him, but it's really Gzeras Shamayim. So where's Ein Hara in this story? Says the Chazon Ish. I saw the Chazon Ish a few years ago. I didn't see it today. The Chazon Ish says basically, of course, there are other reasons, but Ein Hara is the pressing the final button. In other words, the person has a gzera on him, is going to die, right? Because of whichever reason, in whichever way, because he's too sinful, because of whatever. Now, if not for Ein Hara, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have postponed it. Ein Hara, the person who's supposed to die because of X reason, X, Y, Z, is going to die earlier as a second trigger, the other button you push in the machine, and then is Ein Hara. Ein Hara brings early death, earlier than HaKadosh Baruch Hu, planned originally. That's what Rav believes. So Rav holds Kol HaMachla Ein Hara. We see how much people have to be careful. I think people who don't use social media, but those who do, it's a terrible thing. People, nowadays, the youngsters, what do? They take photos of themselves having fun. He has a perfect wife, perfect husband, and everyone's jealous of them. They send pictures of their own personal lives to 5,000 people. Everyone's jealous of them. Who's gaining here? Nobody. So it's just foolishness. Also, the Gedolim said in America, I heard a tape, one of the Rabbanim in America said, not to live if people let's build houses, the facade of the house shouldn't be super fancy, not use fancy cars, because it attracts attention from the goyim. Don't seek bad attention from goyim. We're going to say the Jews have all the money. It's not a good thing. Lower the profile. That's what I've heard from people bigger than me. Shmuel Omar. Shmuel now argues on Rav, and he says, Ze haruach. It's now ruach mean one of two things. It's the wind or the spirit. So the Pashup Pshat means the wind. which means Shmuel believes that the wind that's blowing in the world, bad wind, sometimes bad, certain types of currents of wind are not good for certain people, or he may mean the ruach inside the person, like the breathing. So Shmuel Etaime, Shmuel following his own reason, the Omer Shmuel, Hakoil Baruach, everything depends on the ruach, on the spirit. In other words, according to Rashi, actually it means wind. In other words, the wrong kind of wind. The Gemara speaks about it at the end of the second book of Bava Basra. The northern wind, the eastern wind, each one has its own qualities. And sometimes when the person gets, the wrong side of the wind, that can kill him before his planned time. Well, Shmuel, Gemara, wait a second. According to Rav, you can say people die in all kinds of accidents and funny death and horrible death, but it's because of Ein Hora. But is Shmuel telling me that people die because the wind actually killed them, like bad winds, bad weather? Is that what he's coming to tell me? How do you explain that? There are people who are executed by the king. There are people that the king said, you stole, right? In England, people would steal, they would kill many years ago, yeah? In the times of Bavel, for sure. People, people would be Haruge Malchus, people would be executed right, left, and center. What does the wind have to do with anything, right? They chopped off his head. Where's the wind? The wind has nothing to do with the fact that the king's thugs, the king's the hangman, they hung the person. Where do you see the wind over here? Answers the Gemara, unbelievable, very, very interesting answer. Hanach Nami, those two, even people who died because the king slashed their throat, Ilav Zika, if not for the wind that comes into the wound, let's say they slash their throat, Lolenu. Yeah, I'm not talking about severing their head, but let's say they slash their throat. If not for the bad wind that came into the wound, and Shmuel was a doctor, if not for the bad wind that came into the area where the wound is and kept the wound there, Avdil Usama v'chaye, a doctor would be able to come and actually bring some kind of special herb that heals the flesh, that how do you call it? The kilo reconnects the flesh. The flesh is going to merge now. Yeah, the heals the flesh, and now you know what I mean? Yeah. In other words, it's because the wind came straight into the wound. That's why the wound stays there and killed him, because of all the blood loss. But otherwise, you could have brought quickly some kind of medication to heal the wound and to stop the bleeding, and everything would work out right. Even if it's a very severe cut in the heart, even in the throat, he would be able. It's really because of somehow the wind is affecting it. I'm going to show you, to tell you a deeper shot in all that later, a little bit deeper. For now, we're reading Pashup Pshat. So again, according to Rav, the cause for all death is Ein Hora. According to Shmuel, it's the wind or the spirit. Some Rishonim explain the spirit, bad spirits could be bad mood, but it doesn't mean, I don't think bad mood is what Harugi Malchus says to do it. Now, Rabbi Chanina, the third opinion is Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina, Omar Zutzina, cold weather. Not any wind, hot, cold, or the wind coming into the body the wrong way, through the wound, through the thing. No, just cold weather. The weather is the cause for all death. The Omar Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina, again, following his own idea. Hakol bidei shamayim. All other types of death are bidei shamayim. In other words, if a person lo aleinu gets chas v'shalom cancer, heart disease, it's because Hashem decided that. Of course, a person has to look after his health, but at the end of the day, boom, Hashem, two people can be smokers and eat steaks and drink Coke. One of them has cancer, one doesn't. Yeah, that's reality. I'm not belittling the importance of health. Yeah, but l'maisa bidei shamayim. Other diseases that come upon a person and goes to the doctor, oy vavoy, cancer, heart stuff, that's bidei shamayim. Chutz mitzinim pachim, not tzinim v'pachim, as commonly read. According to this girsa, tzinim pachim. What's tzinim pachim? Tzina is cold weather, and pachim, according to one pshat, pachim means not pach as garbage can or pach a trap, but pachim means linpoach. What's nofeach? To blow. When the cold is blowing into you, this is something that's not because of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. You should have dressed warmly. A Yiddish Shemame tells you, she runs after you with a sweater. Here, that's the source for Yiddish Shemame. You really have to dress warm. You have to dress well. It's up to you. In other words, if it's a disease, came Shemayim, the guy got all of a sudden, boom, lo leinu yenemachla, he went to the doctor. Here, it's just cold, and the cold can deteriorate, and the cold can cause death. And he believes that the cold weather, at the end of the day, can be caused for many, many other pachlois, many other. It could be too hot. Oh, according to another pshat, pachim means hot. Sinim and pach is hot. So either the weather being too cold or the weather too hot, and a change of weather is very unhealthy for people. Yeah. In countries where the weather is more or less the same all year round, I think it's better over there. Sinim pachim, too cold, too hot, that's something that can drive the health crazy, and that is number one cause for all other diseases. Yeah, that is kilu puts you out of order. Shenemal, and he brings a pasuk to prove that from Mishlei. Sinim pachim bederech ikesh. Yeah, it's sinim pachim. Now, pachim does also mean, by the way, excuse me, sinim, there is a pshat that pachim means a traps or stumbling over in the street. Yeah, it's something that's up to you. In other words, look after yourself to dress warmly or dress not too hot in the summer. Yeah, and pachim, according to the third pshat, means traps. In other words, when you walk down the street and you fall over a trap, you should have looked. Shomer nafsho yirchak mehem. A person is shomer nafsho. A person looks after his health, after his neshama, after his life. The person who cares about his life, yirchak mehem, he should stay away from them. In other words, to just maintain regular health, don't be too cold, too hot to this, is something you can take care of yourself. And that is number one cause of what of early. It's also very nice, by the way, because those machlis that are not cold, hot related, those machlis really are up to Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's called natural death. Early death is what you bring upon yourself because you didn't look after yourself vis-a-vis cold or hot. Again, so we're talking about early death versus derech eretz, which is the normal death prescribed by Kadosh Baruch Hu. You were foolish. You did not look after. You didn't dress warmly. Your fault that chas v'shalom you may die early. Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, that's the fourth opinion. Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina Omar zut soya. Now tsoya means excrement. May mean what we have the toilet, but he has another pshat as well. Domar mar soya sachoitem, but soya saoizen. Soya sachoitem is basically the dirt you have in your nose. But soya saoizen, the mucus you have in your ear. Ruban kosher, to have a lot of it is kosher, is not good. Also it shows something unhealthy, right? We know that this is what's in the nose is a result of some internal, things are not right. Umiutan yofe, a little bit of it is good, a lot of it is bad. And they cause the death. They're the ones who cause the death. Whatever having soya in the body, having all the dirt inside your body, too much of it is a symptom, something is really wrong. That is, the cause of death. Now, these four opinions are very interesting. I saw in one of the Meforshim of the En Yaakov says as follows. We know that there are four elements in the world, right? There are four elements. I don't mean scientific elements in physics. I mean to say spiritual. There are four elements. There's earth, right? Water, air, and fire. That's how the Chachamim always look at it. And then the Greek also copied that idea, as far as I know, but it started in the Torah. So now, basically, a person has to have these four elements in place and balanced. Now, the question is, all these four things we said, the evil eye, the wind, the cold, and the tsoya, the internal dirt, each one corresponds to a different one of the four elements. How come? I told you before, the eye, many times it says when Chachamim, with their great Kedusha, like Reb Shimon bar Yochai, he looked at Rabbi Yehuda ben Gerim with his eyes, right, and made him into just a bunch of bones. Yeah, and many times, Chachamim would look at someone, he would burn. Reb Shimon bar Yochai, when he got out of the cave the first time, they would look at something, he would burn. So looks can actually burn spiritually. That's fire. Yeah. So if you are a korban of Ein Hara, or interestingly, if you cause Ein Hara to others, you have too much fire. Jealousy. Jealousy is like fire. It burns you. So something in the fire within you is out of balance. There's too much of it. Like cancer, right? The things grow too quickly. The cells, you have too much fire in you, and that's the cause of death. Shmuel says it's the ruach, the spirit. Yeah, you have too much spirits. Yeah, that could be gaiva, spirit. Yeah, you're going up too much. You're full of yourself, like a hot air balloon. That can cause death. The other opinion that says sina, that's water. Water naturally is cold, right? Naturally, water is considered one of the coldest one of the four elements. Too cold, having too much coldness, so to speak, in your body, in your personality, that causes early death. And the fourth one is earth. Soya, dirt, is like dirt of the ground. It's earth. something very earthly. Your body is too heavy with all the kishkas inside, all the tsoya, all the dirt inside of you. You're too earthly, and that causes you death. Interesting. Not you. Everyone should live till 120 with everything balanced the right way. But if one of the elements goes a little bit too much, goes too far, too much, too big, then it can already be dangerous. Ablozer says zu moro. How does our scroll translate moro? Because moro is something you have in the bladder. Yeah, how does it say? Moro is like bitter. The gallbladder, right? Very good. Thank you. Gallbladder, right? Zu moro. In other words, all machlos have to do the moro. Rashi says there is bitterness in the moro. Moro also means in Hebrew bitter. Yeah, and it's what? Mara. Yeah. Gall. Maro, of course, maro, yeah, very good. So the bitterness in the gallbladder can actually expand and affect the entire body somehow. And that could be cause for all other diseases. Yeah, mara shchoir is also bad mood. Mara shchoir means, when this person has mara shchoiro, they say has the black humor, as they call it in the old books, that can cause death, bad mood. Tanenami hachi, a brisa that supports what the last opinion we said of Oblozo, machala zu moro. We're now quoting a different pasuk. Before it we said kol choili. Now we quote another pasuk that says the pasuk is now called machala. Machala, which the Torah says va'siroisi machalo mikirbecho. I will remove machala from your innards, from inside of you. Where is the mara? In the innards. Machala zu moro. The word machala means moro. Machala. Why is it called machala and not moro? Now, what's machala in Hebrew? Disease. However, the Meforshim explain, really disease in biblical Hebrew is choili. Choili. Choili is the noun disease. Yeah? Machala sounds more like a verb. Machala means it is sickening, something that causes you to be sick. So why is the mara called machala? She machala called gufo shel adam. Because the mara is not just a disease, it's a cause, it's a verb, it's a sickening thing, it's causing disease. That's why it's not choili but machala, because it's mechale. It causes all the other diseases in the entire body. Davar acher, another pshat, machala. Why is it called machala? Sheshmoini v'shlosha choloim tluin b'moro. Wow, there are 83 diseases. All have to do with the moro, and machala in gematria is 83. You want to check it? Yeah, machala is 83. 40 plus 30 is 70. 78 plus 5 is how much? Very good. So 83 chaloim tulin b'mor. That's what's called machala. Machala equals 83. There are 83 different diseases. Oh wow, that sounds bad. And they all have to do with the mara. And mara is also the mood. Yeah, Chachamim knew that bad mood affects the person's health. Absolutely. Nowadays they know it scientifically. Bekulan. So tell me what to do. What should I do not to have bad mara? Bekulan, all 83 diseases can be treated. No medications. It's much simpler. Pas shachris b'melach. Bekiton shel mayim mevatalton. If you have a good breakfast, you have a pas shachris b'melach, simple bread in the morning with salt, unless you have high blood pressure, yeah. Bekiton shel mayim. Rashi says if you don't have wine, it's preferable to have wine. Wine is good for the heart, yeah, a little bit. Bekiton shel mayim. If you don't have wine, you have just regular water, mevataltan. It annuls, it cancels it out, it heals those diseases. In other words, it doesn't necessarily say bread as bread. What the Gemara is telling us is, as we're going to see, is basically a breakfast. You have to be satisfied first thing in the morning after davening, and then your health will be much better, your mood and everything else. As we're going to see now, there are 13 different advantages to a good breakfast. When you eat well in the morning, then your mind is clearer, your relationship is clearer with your wife, with everybody, and therefore your health will also be better. Tonu abonon, as we're going to see now, Tonu abonon, the brisa. Yud gimel dvorim nemru bepas shachris. There are 13 things, good things, that were said about pas shachris, about having a breakfast. And again, the idea is one idea throughout the whole brisa. The idea is that when you are well fed, you're in a better mood, right? So, Yud Gimel Dvorim Nemru Bepas Shachris. There are 13 things that were said about the breakfast. Matzeles mina chama, it saves the person from chama, from getting too hot. In other words, a person would not get too hot when he is actually, when he had a good breakfast, then the body, the regulation, the body heat is right. Yeah, he ate well, then his body heat is the right way. Uminatsina, he won't be too hot, he won't be too cold. Umina zikin, from the wind. We said the wind is not good, right? So even if the wind is strong, zika in Aramaic is wind. You know that? Zika, wind. Zikin, winds. He can go to the windy city and he'll be okay. Umina mazikin, all kinds of, spiritual demons, whatever. The person is well fed, he can even fight the ghosts. Umachkima spesi, your brains work better. Yeah, your petty person could, think he's a tippish, not so smart. No, you'll be smart if you eat well. Says Rashi, daitem yesheves olav, because he's not hungry. Yeah, his stomach is not churning. His brain can work. They always said that in the schools. They always said, send your kid after a good breakfast. They always said that. Yeah, send him a sandwich and send him after a breakfast. The zoiche bedin. Let's say the person has din Torah. Ooh, he has a din Torah against his neighbor, against his brother with a Yerusha, whatever din Torah, against the city hall. I don't know, whatever he has. He'll be zoiche bedin. Why? It's not magic. He'll come to Beis Din well fed. He'll be more like a mensch. He'll be able to talk, to convince people. He'll be a mensch, so he'll be able to convince the judge that he's right. Hopefully, another thing, lilmoid Torah, to learn Torah, and to teach Torah. To teach Torah over empty stomach is very hard. Take it from me. Yeah, Vedvorov nishmoin, people would listen to him. In other words, when do people not listen to you? When you don't make sense. You want to say something, but you're so hungry and so confused, you're trying to express yourself and it just doesn't work right. But Dvorv Nishmoin, people listen to you, people can be convinced by you. When you're well fed, your mind is also at rest. You can actually be more, eloquent when you are satisfied. The Talmud Miskai Beyodo, you remember your Torah. Isn't it frustrating? We learn Torah the entire life and then forget 80% of that. Very frustrating. But if you eat well and you learn, then your brains works better and you can remember the Torah. Now, another physical effect, good effect, then besori male hevel. His flesh does not, hevel, Rashi says, doesn't mean steam like he usually does. It means sweat. You don't over sweat. You don't have all this smelly sweat, Yeah, you smell better. You don't sweat as much if you eat just right. You are right what you said. Overeating is as bad, obviously. Overeating also can cause you all the bad things. But we're talking about a person who has, what did the Gemara say? It didn't say champagne and caviar. The Brisa said bread and water. In other words, have satisfying but basic modest breakfast, good enough but not too good. Nobody says have 10 cakes, No. Have a healthy breakfast and that would do you good, a world of good. Venizkak le'ishtoi. Oh, so now this is a bit tricky. Nizkak le'ishtoi, the person now has good relations with his wife. I mean, relations mamish. Nizkak le'ishtoi has relations with his wife. Well, the enemy then he doesn't want, he's not interested, he's not looking for other women. Here Rashi says something interesting. Rashi says, let's say a person is Baal Hirhurim. He's a person, not the biggest tzaddik, a guy who has, sometimes he has Hirurim thoughts, fantasies the wrong way. And now, in the morning, if he would run to the marketplace, he'd run to the office, what would you look at? Today, what? Other women, other girls, billboards, it's very hard, Shmir Senaim. He'll start Chas v'Shalom relating to other women. But if he has the breakfast first thing in the morning, right, and his wife is home, then he'll be Tovel Ishto, he'll have relations with his wife, yeah, although it's not recommendable to do it by daytime, but sometimes it's allowed if they close all the curtains. If a person sees the Yetzer Hara takes over, that's a Gemara in Shabbos, in Halacha. Yeah, in Shabbos, yeah, and then, he'd be satisfied with his wife. He had his fix, and then he goes to the market. He's not going to look at other women. Everything will be good. So he ate, he's satisfied, he can actually have relations, and then afterwards, the whole day, he's doing well. Says Rashi, kina here are worms. It kills the worms in the bnei me'aim. Sometimes children have that, or even adults in third world countries, they have worms in the stomach. It can happen, yeah, even in this country. Yeah, it happened, yeah. So if you have the worms in the stomach, good diet can deal with that. That's what the Gemara says. If you know what to eat in the morning, it can kill that too. Some say af moitzi esakina takes away the jealousy. Why? A person who's unsettled because he didn't eat, so he's jealous and he's nervous, and his mind wanders the wrong way. Why does he do that? No, he starts fighting. If you had your good breakfast, that will deal with many emotional issues. And brings love into your heart. That's the opposite of kina or sina, is love. You love everybody. You'll be satisfied, happy. You'll be happy men. Amar lei. Excuse me. That's a kiton shel mayim. It's tea instead of mayim. Yeah. Amar lei Rabba lerove bar Mari. On the same subject, Rabba asked Rove bar Mari, Minoha Milsa, what is the source of the following statement, the Amri Inchi? Amri Inchi, people say, there's like there is a commonly used phrase, people say the following, and I want to know what's the source. What do people say? Shitin rehiti rohut, 60 runners can run after a person, veloy matu, and they cannot reach legavra de mitzafra korach. What's tzafra? Morning. A person who had a karich, a person who had his bread, like a sandwich nowadays, yeah? A person who had his bread in the morning can run so fast that even 60 runners cannot run after him. Is that true, what people say? Could be, it's an exaggeration, but the idea is that a person who eats a good breakfast, he'll be strong. So is that true? It's nice. People say that. People say all kinds of nonsense. I want to see a real source from the Rabbanim. He says, yeah, and soon we're going to see a posuk. Now we're going to see a statement by Rabbanon, not just by the regular folk in the street, the Tom, Dick, and Harry. Rabbanon say, Hashkem ve'echol b'kaitz mipnei hachama. Rise early, get up early in the summer and eat well. Well, obviously after davening. In the summer because of the hot, because of the heat, to avoid the heat. In the winter because of the cold. Again, both summer and winter, you have to eat well to be equipped to deal with the weather. Well, that's all very nice, but how do people know this, and how do Chazal know that? Even Chazal need a source to what they're saying. Yes, here there's a source. It says, Lo yiravu v'lo yitzmo. They will not be hungry, they will not be thirsty. V'lo yakem shorov v'shemesh. And the shorov and shemesh and the heat and the heat and the sun would not hit them, would not afflict them. How do you read the pasuk? Lo yakum shorov v'shemesh. You know why they're not affected by the sun and the heat? Because you have to reverse the pasuk. Because they're not hungry and not thirsty, because they ate well. That's why they can weather the storm or deal with the heat, be protected from the heat because they ate well. Today, all the food is unhealthy, and a lot of the food is unhealthy. The bread today, my wife told me yesterday, bread is, unfortunately, the regular white bread we have is very unhealthy. It's very, very genetically modified. It's the most genetically engineered and modified product in the market. My wife is now to a whole new diet, and white bread is very unhealthy. It used to be healthy. When the Torah says bread means real bread, bread as it's supposed to be used to be a very, very healthy thing. Today you also have rye bread and this and that. This is not a nutrition class, or wheat, yeah. But Lamaisa, the regular white bread, they killed almost anything good about it. So when the Gemara says bread, it means, good old bread as it used to be, and that's very healthy. That helps you against the heat and against everything else. Omerli, at omertli mehosam. You bring me a source from over there, from lo yiravu v'lo yitzmo. V'ano, I amina l'cha mehocho. I bring you a source from here, from a different pasuk. What's the other pasuk that tells me about the wonders and marvels of breakfast? It says, "Va'avadetim es Hashem Elokeichem." You should serve Hashem your God. Ubeirach es lachmecha ve'esmeimecha. He shall bless your bread and water. Who said bread and water? Yeah. Va'avadetim es Hashem Elokeichem. How do we analyze the pasuk? How do we interpret the pasuk? How do we break it down? Va'avadetim es Hashem Elokeichem zeh kriyishma v'tefila. What do you do first thing in the morning? Don't eat. Davening. You're not allowed to eat before davening. It's a very severe thing, yeah? Unless you're sick, unless this. I'm sick. Normally, you don't eat before davening. You're not supposed to. People have a whole feast before davening. I don't know where they take it from. It's usher. Unless, again, your doctor told you. I'm not saying, but generally, no. So first of all, serve Hashem, the kriyishma v'tefila. Start your way, the tefillah way, kriyishma tefillah. And then, uberachis lachmecha v'esmeimecha. He shall bless your bread and water. Zupas b'melach v'kiton shel mayim, right? Have your blessed bread and blessed water meaning your bread with salt, and kiton shel mayim, your jug of water. Mikan va'elach, how does the pasuk continue? I'll remove any disease from within you. Very good. And that here, up until now, we see that this is the source for a good breakfast. Davening, good, healthy, good breakfast deals with many, many, many issues. You know, ben adam leishto, ben adam lechavero, Torah, social life, everything can work right if you have good davening, and a good breakfast. That's a very, very good start for the day. Now we're done with breakfast. We had our breakfast. Now we are going back to other halachos of Rav Yehuda talking to Rav Ada Meshucho. Rav Yehuda, sorry. Rav Yehuda said something, made a halachic statement addressing Rav Ada Meshucho. Rav Ada the measurer. I thought about you. Rav Ada's profession was to measure. In other words, when people had a dispute, Rashi says, brothers over Yerusha, that's science fiction. That never happens. Brother fighting over a will. I don't know. Maybe in times of the Gemara. No. I don't know. So brothers fighting, partners, people, neighbors, and you have to decide where does the line go, the border between Reuven and Shimon. That was his profession. He was a professional measurer. Better word? I don't know. Surveyor. He would measure. He wouldn't do other things though. Yeah, that was his profession, to measure, not to evaluate the. Yeah. You. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the comment. We're talking here about a person, an Amoira, Rav Ada. His profession was to measure ground, land, nothing else, as far as I know, at least in this context. Yeah, his profession was, to measure the land and mark the border between fields, houses, between, as we're going to see, some public places and private places. It's also important. Yeah, where does your house start and the river begins? The river is public. All that we're going to see now, a lot of interesting halachos. Okay, so let's see. Says Rav Yehuda to Rav Ada bar Meshucho, Lo tezalzel b'mishcheta. Don't belittle, in other words, be precise. And don't be lackadaisical about measuring even the smallest size. Why? Let's say there's, some kind tiny centimeter, and you can say you're tired at the end of the day. Who cares if the centimeter goes to Reuven or Shimon? Don't be mezalzel. Yeah, don't belittle it. Don't, take it seriously. Why? The called purta v'purta, every tiny piece of earth, chazi, is suitable lekurkum arishka. Kurkum is a very, very healthy thing. It's called turmeric in English. And kurkum adarishka is oriental turmeric. Oriental turmeric is very expensive because it's very healthy and very tasty and very nice. And basically, he's telling him, you think maybe 1 centimeter is, who cares? Come on, don't be so nitpicking. I'm not in Switzerland now, so maybe it's okay. No. Don't be mezalzel. I saw it in Shulchan Aruch yesterday. Take your business very, very seriously. Why? Because maybe on that, 2 centimeters over 1 centimeter, you can grow a few seeds of kurkum adarishka, make significant money. You can make money by sowing very small things that are very expensive, and therefore don't belittle your job and take it very seriously, very meticulously. That's what he told him. Oh, but now comes an opposite message. Rav Yehuda le Rav Ada Meshucho. Another statement again from Rav Yehuda to the same Rav Ada, the measurer. Daled Amos. Oh, okay. Okay. I think I'm going to use the whiteboard now. Fine. Okay. I'm sorry, it's not so clear maybe to people who watch us online, but I'll explain everything. When the last narrow line of Bava Metzia, Kuf Zayin Amud Beis, Rav Yehuda is addressing Rav Ada, the measurer, the person whose profession was to measure. Daled Amis de Anigra. Anigra is the man-made aqueduct or man-made canal. Yeah, this is a natural river. This is a canal. Okay. Now, if these are the fields, the whole reason the canal is there is to irrigate the fields. So now, this canal, there are fields here. There's one field and another field and another field. Yeah, one field next to the other. And there would always be a separation, a dead area with Dalid Ames, 4 Ames, without anything growing. Because if you start planting over here, that can ruin the river Now the riverbank, the bank of the canal. The canal, they didn't have the concrete back then, right? So they would always have to make sure that there's empty space of Daled Amos to make sure that really, this is empty, because otherwise you may have all kinds of roots that eat into the canal, that disturb the canal. Leave the canal alone to flow nicely with stable walls, and they should stay that way. So there is a mutual agreement by everybody to keep Daled Amos free, with nothing growing there. And that's the way it should be. Who has to measure the Daled Amos? Not him and not him. Who? An objective professional person who is, hello, Ravada. Now Ravada is getting instructions from Rav Yehuda on what to do. Now the river had the same business. In the river, no, let me use the black one. Now, let's say some fields would be directly next to the river, right? And here too, you would have Daled Amos, right? You have 4 Amos free on both sides, because the river, that's natural, same thing. If I start planting not a little cute tomato, I'd start planting a fig tree, it's going to destroy the bank of the river. And we don't want that. We want to maintain the river flowing nicely. We care about nature and the environment. And therefore, these Daled Amos should stay tree-free, vegetable-free, just empty, and people can stroll and walk in the afternoon and bike, and all very nice. Actually, we're going to see about people walking also later. But basically, Daled Amos next to the river should stay empty, and the Daled Amos next to the man-made aqueduct, the man-made canal, the Amos Hamayim, the Nigra, should also stay empty. However, there's a difference. There's a difference between the man-made one and the river one. Why? It says as follows: Daled Amos da Nigra zazel behu. Be mezalzel. In other words, the Daled Amos, you don't have to be the Machlokas Rashi Tosfos which way it goes. The Daled Amos here, you don't have to be very precise to the Daled Amos, You can actually allow the Daled Amos to go a little bit more, according to Rashi, you allow it to go more inside. In other words, it's not the end of the world if the Daled Amos are really 3.8. Nicht gefährlich. It's not so bad. You don't have to go crazy halachically and measure Dafka Daled. I'm following Rashi now, not Tosfos. And he says, even if the difference is a little bit, that the empty space will be a bit smaller, and there's a little bit of danger that the Amma would actually fall apart, something would happen, it's not the end of the world, and we're going to see soon why. However, the Anhara, the one of the river, the one next, the empty space of Daled Amos of the river, he says the other extreme, Lotim Shechenu Klal, you don't even have to measure it at all. Just, you're professional. With your eyes, you can gauge Daled Amos. In other words, and Dafka allow more than Daled Amos, meaning be more generous and make sure that there is at least Daled Amos there. Here, it should be, let's say, 3.8. I'm just throwing a number. Here, it wouldn't hurt if there would be, let's say, 4.2. Why? What's the difference? Why is it that here, it's not the end of the world if we have a bit less than Daled Amos, and here, it's preferable to have more than Daled Amos free for us. Rav Yehuda follows his own reason. Domer Rav Yehuda, Arba Amos da Nigra libnei Nigra. Those Daled Amos, they belong to those people. And those people can be moichel. In other words, those people can say, listen, who's benefiting here from having a good aqueduct? Us. And who's planting the vegetables? Us. So if everyone's happy, it's okay. In other words, at the end of the day, I can be moichel that the aqueduct won't be super duper nice, and maybe it'll be a bit, crumbling in the corners, and the bank won't be amazingly nice. So what? I'm also gaining. I'm having a few more tomatoes over there. I'm moichel, and my neighbor is probably also moichel. Here comes the punchline. The Anhara, the Kule Alma, the Nahar is public area. The bank of the river, those Daled Amos do not belong to the fields. They belong to who? To the public. It's a public area. Says Rashi, Uman Mochil. You remember Bava Kama? What did you say, Bava Kama? What's the worst type of gezel? Erev Rosh Hashanah. What's the worst type of gezel? If I'm gezel from you, I can give you back whatever I stole. But if you stole from the public, people who burn pachim, terrible. People who destroy public property, like the benches in the park, it's terrible. Who will you give it back to? They say you have to give tzedakah. But if you stole from the public, it's terrible because the public is not one person can be moichel. That's right. Those Daled Amos, that people, the owners of the river, is everybody. Everyone's owner. So who is there to be moichel if the river is going to start falling apart? Therefore, there you have to make sure you have at least daladamis, if not more, because if anything happens to the river, which is public, because one capitalist guy is greedy and wants to have his tomato here or his tree here, that's not fair. You're doing your personal stuff on the cheshbon of the public. Nobody can be moichel you, and that's the way it goes. Machriz Rabbi Ami. Okay, we have 5 more minutes, and we are in the second wide line. Now, let's continue in the river. I was only half joking before when I said that those daladamis alongside the river can be used for people to walk. What would you say today? What do people do by the bank of the river? You can buy because sometimes dangerous, yeah, and you can walk and you can stroll, with your chavrusa, with your kids, with your wife, all very nice. Back then, and actually it exists today too. I didn't believe it. Sometimes who's in the river? Boats. Sometimes a boat, even today apparently, a boat cannot manage in the river, and you have people who pull it by the bank. Not pull it into the moor, into the pier. They actually walk in the rocky areas. I checked it yesterday. Yeah, and back then it was very common. You had to have a boat over here. Yeah, here's the boat, yeah, from above. And you'd have a person walking and schlepping the boat with chavalim, with ropes. Yeah, usually it would be one person here, or sometimes he would be on the other bank of the river. And therefore, that if this is full of, let's say, trees, where is he going to walk? Says the Gemara, Machiz Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami made a public announcement, Beloi katfi nagdi, one should leave enough space for the nagdi, for the ktefaim, for the shoulders of the what's the name, of the schleppers, of the porters, of the boat schleppers, betrei every nahara, yeah, betrei every nahara kutsu. In other words, both sides of the river, cut the trees. It's a public halachic statement, and that's halacha. You have to leave enough room for people, schleppers, to walk. Rashi points out they need a bit more space because they also work diagonally. Now, because it's heavy, they'll go like this and not straight, so they need more, like the alachsa, the diagonal. Leave enough space for people to walk here. Kutsu, if you have your tree over here, the irya, run by the chachomim, by the meroim, will tell you have to cut your trees that are. Now, I didn't say yet daladamis. This daladamis was done because the bank is going to be ruined. Now, that's a different issue. Let's say it's a river where you have boats and you have people walking there to schlep the boats. They have the right to walk there. You have to leave enough space for the person to walk and schlep the boat. And what do you mean leave space? If you happen to have a nice eucalyptus tree over there, you have to cut it, even a fruit tree, which is a big chiddush. That's already a different question. Maybe a fruit and put somewhere else. But it's a rabim, tzarke rabim. Now, how big should that be? The daladamis was mitzad not to destroy the river. But maybe this is a different Indian. This is mitzad what? Mitzad the schleppers. Rav Nosson, now the following story will tell us how much space should be left for the schleppers of the boat, and it should remain free, tree-free. Yeah. Rav Nosson Baroshia cuts shitzer amsa. Wow. Rav Nosson Baroshia, he left empty space and cut all the trees, 16 amas next to each bank of the river. Yeah, by each bank of the river. And you know what happened to him? And the Moira, listen to this. We have to tear Kriya. Asu ale bnei Mesharonia. The people of Mesharonia, Mesharonia was the town where this actually happened. They were the owners of the tree. They felt that cutting 16 amas is too much. They hit him. They hit the rabbi. Oh, yeah, you thought it's a new thing? Yeah, because they hit him and they said, why are you cutting too much? Now, of course, they were wrong. However, he says the Gemara, he was also wrong, according to the Gemara says. Husovar Kirshus Arabim. How much is Kirshus Arabim for Shabbos? Anybody? 16 amas. 16 amas. He said, listen, and also it's not just for Shabbos. The Gemara in the Bava Basra, Tzadites Amud Beis, the Gemara says in Mishnah, Rishus Arabim is 16 amas for all kinds of purposes. So maybe that's Rishus Arabim, because you need a lot of boat schleppers to go there. Belohi, no, he was wrong, says the Gemara, not me. Says the Gemara, he was wrong. Hosam ba'inan kuli hai. Over there, when you talk about 16 amas of people walking, Manhattan, you need 16 amas so people actually walk through that 16 amas, and we learn it from the midbar. Normal Rishus Harabim from normal public place is 16 amas. That's about 8 meters. But over here, there's not so much movement and commotion there. Why do you need b'chlal the space over there? Mishum amtuchi ashlayinhu. All they need is to schlep In other words, you need more than a person because you also need some space for the Ashley. Ashley are the ropes. They need a person, the diagonal position, and the rope, a bit of a rope. That's all you need. It's enough against the kefine, the shoulders of the schleppers. That's not 16 amis. How big is the schlepper? Is one guy with a shtickle rope, to give balance. I don't know how much. Maybe 4 amis, 5. I don't know. Not 16. Yeah, not 16. As far as I remember, I think it's 4 amis. Derech Yochid. The Mishnah there in Tzaddik Talmud Beis says the path of an individual is 4 amis for all kinds of nafkaminas. We'll stop here, and I have to go. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone here in Avos Shalom. Thank you to people at home, Torah Anytime Kol Shon, and to our YouTube channel viewers. Thank you. May we always walk the right path. Yeah, and Hatzlacha Uvracha. Thank you very much. A good Elul to all.